you so much. I learned one thing about all four panelists. None of them do anything halfway when we ask them to be panelists. Didn't give them a whole lot of instructions, but I really appreciate what you brought to the table today and how much you put into it. So we have for questions. We have somebody with a microphone. There she is back there. So just have a few minutes for questions.
Thank you, Tim, and thank you, Lisa. Thank you, panel members. My name is Lisa Ridgway, and I'm a patient partner from Vancouver Island, British Columbia. In fact, there are 4 patient partners here. Thank you. There are 4 patient partners here that the BC Support Unit has sent. And there's also someone or a couple of people from BC. Is Tara McMillan here? And good. So we have the BC voice here. But I'm going to ask my question not as a patient advocate with the BC Support Unit, but just as a patient. I have a friend. I actually have several friends, but I'm just going to speak about this friend primarily. And she's known me for 25 years, and she knows that I've jumped on this wonderful, energetic bandwagon called patient-oriented research in a big way. And I'm wondering if she's right when she says, Lisa, don't let them chew you up and spit you out, because you'll run up against all sorts of roadblocks and there are no supports for you to maintain your career as an advocate for patient-oriented research. Now, Tim has answered the question very well, but I'm going to ask the question regardless of funding, like the Spore 2.0 that we all hope to see come into fruition. I'd be very interested in the other panel members asking them, how do you make sure that patients aren't too thin on the ground? How do you build patient capacity in the patient-oriented research world?
I guess I would say as a starting point, you connect with them and ask them what they need and listen to them. And we have a really nice workshop tomorrow, so I'll just use this opportunity to plug that, about what makes patient engagement meaningful and how do we ensure that it's meaningful and what's needed from both the patient side as well as the researcher side. I mentioned that I've been doing research for almost 25 years, and this is new to me as well. And so we need to dialogue so that we can understand each other's perspectives, what the barriers are, and then identify what solutions to those barriers.
Thanks. We include patients. Patients are not this group over here and researchers over here, but it's actually everybody who's doing the research, and patients are included. So we don't exclude patients from our capacity development exercises, activities, or whatever. And we also do ask, as Lisa said, what do you need? What can we provide? What kind of sessions do you need, as individuals? And having things online makes it so much easier for people to join us. So we include everybody.
I would just add one perspective around the data-enabled innovation, right? We talk about that, and I've been involved in the last 4 years in many projects that talk about that, but it actually pays lip service to the citizens and patients whose data occupy all the repositories we're talking about, right? So I think patients and citizens are the absolute key to that moving forward, because if we want patients to get into self-management of their care, I mean, at some point into the future, I've heard this from looking to the looking glass, patients will have more information about their health and health care than the health system, okay? So you can pick, I met a guy last week from Cloud DX who is uploading stuff into his cloud, a company that's been created. He has all kinds of data the health system will want to see eventually, right? So I just think there's a tsunami of disruption coming to the health system that I don't think the health system is really ready for right now. And I do think that patients and citizens will be the key to all that. And I think oftentimes we pay lip service to that and we don't think about that. And I do think the Alberta Spore Support Unit and all the Spore Support Units in the Spore strategy have an excellent opportunity of tying those two threads together for sustainable impact.
Lisa, thank you. I feel that while we've made good progress, that as a patient, and taking aside the other roles that I've had, I don't feel like I'm being chewed up and spit out or anything as part of this group, but I do feel that I have to work really hard, despite the mindset of the researchers, to be an open-minded worker for the patients. And I have been surprised when I've gone to numerous people that I know to encourage them to participate in the web-based identification and so on, and to take part. In fact, I've been quite shocked that some of my former colleagues who have very lofty research parts to themselves just say, oh, I don't want anything to do with this. And I think it has to do, despite the fact that all the good things are there in all that we've said, I think that people have difficulty believing that this is for true and real until they've had an actual encounter as a patient. And they are skeptical about things. They feel their confidentiality may be breached. And just yesterday, I was chatting with a friend who had surgery on Wednesday, and I was really shocked to hear at what she heard as a patient that would just divulge flies in the face. This is 2019. Of everything we know about patient confidentiality. She was in the recovery room for quite some time. She heard confidences breached right, left, and center. And it's that kind of thing that people have interfaces with the healthcare profession or setting, and then they go out and they don't feel as confident as we would like to have them feel, or not the trust that we believe is coming within this new approach. Thank you for raising that.
Do we have another question? Marilyn would like to add something to that.
Yes, of course. Of course she would. I just wanted to say I think it's a really important thing for us to think about is this getting chewed up and spit out, is we do have some very enthusiastic patients who are gung-ho and really part of everything, except that they're always the same ones who volunteer, who are asked to be part of, and I think we do have to be careful that we don't overburden people that are volunteering, you know, to spread the wealth, get more people involved instead of always, oh, I know Joe or, you know, Susie or whatever, they always volunteer, so we'll get them. Let's try and get our neighbors and friends and stuff involved as well. Yeah, thanks for raising that.
You're getting a thumbs up from the lady who asked the question. There's a question here.
Hi. About 75 to 90% of the care in Alberta is provided by caregivers, family caregivers. And we talk about patient engagement. What are you doing to engage family caregivers about their own needs? You know, I know that I did my PhD with Nora Keating. You go to CIHR and they say, caregivers, those aren't health. You go to SSHRC and they say, oh no, you're providing health services.
Use the microphone.
That's health. So what happens is where do caregivers and engaging caregivers fit in the Spore platform?
Great question.
Well, we're having a workshop tomorrow. I don't know if I mentioned that already. But in my own research program, I don't necessarily work directly with the patients because the patients that I seek to help are children. And so we work with parents, and I have a representative who's going to be presenting with me at our workshop tomorrow. And so those are some of the caregivers that I have personally been interacting with and trying to identify what their information needs are mostly and how we get information to them to build their their confidence, empower them, and help inform their decision-making around the care of their children.
Maybe just, you've touched upon the issue of, at the macro level, the federal government doesn't have provincial responsibility for health is a provincial responsibility. It's not a federal responsibility, yet research and innovation is a federal funded organization. So again, I think that's, you saw the silo slide, right? It talks about the silos, and you saw in the continuum, community care providers are part of the, I think, the future of how we keep people out of hospitals and out of primary care networks. So I think, again, we have to have mechanisms to break down those barriers and those silos. I don't know if Alberta Spore Support and Spore Support in and of itself will be able to do all that. I think we have to have system design and re-engineering thinking about that. But we have to have a strategy for how we're going to sustain our healthcare system into the future, right? So that it is sustainable, it is providing value, and I think community care providers, connected homes, self-managed care, those are the trends that are coming up. And now the technology enables all those individuals to have access to all the information they need to do that. So we have to work hard at that, and I think that's just one of the silos that have to break it down. Now, I think Spore Support, again, given its 60 FTE plus, its capacity, its expertise, its direction, that's something to consider again. But then it gets back to the question of who is Spore for? That's the question we're asking, right? So, and and Marilyn mentioned that at the beginning. I think the definitional challenges have always been there, but I think at its core, if we really are held to we have to improve patient outcome and we have to have a health impact on health systems, we're going to have to thread that needle somehow into the future. I don't know when, I don't know how, but for us to be relevant, we'll have to be able to address partially that problem.
So as a family caregiver whose husband had a stroke in 1997 and who's done a PhD since then, I still talk to stroke caregivers. So my husband's stroke was 21 years ago. Talking to a caregiver just recently, and she said, whose husband had a stroke in December, and she said, who's going to support me? And I can still tell her that there is not support for her.
Yeah, I'd like to add that, just to clarify, we define patient as patient and their caregivers. So if the patient, that definition of patient includes caregivers. So, but I certainly understand your passion. And we have one more question, or we're done?
It's actually a quick plug for the patient. It's called the Patient and Family Registry, right? Like the one that the patient engagement platform is running. It's called Patient and Family Registry. So it's not only for patients in the meaning that, having a condition, it's people and the people who are caring for, because we totally understand that you have a massive role to play. Absolutely. No, that's a fantastic point.
I think we've got a new client. Okay. If there's one more quick question we can answer, or you can just talk to the panelists individually. They'd all be very happy to chat with you. Okay. So I think we'll end the session now. Thank you again to all our panelists.